And so I think we get too close to those things and we forget just how miraculous and unbelievable those things are. So that's the title of that book. It was just unbelievable, trying to take a fresh look at those things.
That is something that we're going to have to put on our book list, Ryan.
Yes.
That sounds great.
They're available on Amazon. The bad news is we just did one print run, and so now they're pretty rare. So the last time I checked, it was like $40 to get a used copy on Amazon. So I recommend that do a Kindle.
Yeah, that or we'll just share and kind of pass it back and forth around the team.
Yeah.
This is Deconstructing Dallas. Shawn Williams, Ryan Trimble. We're having a great conversation today with Ryan Sanders from Dallas Morning News. We'll be right back right after this.
Back, Deconstructing Dallas. Ryan Trimble, Shawn Williams, joined today by the Dallas Morning News' Ryan Sanders. Now, Ryan, a big part of every political cycle, at least in my career, and I've been doing legislative work for 10 years and then been doing a lot of city hall work the past 6. Big moment in the campaign, without fail, is getting the Dallas Morning News candidate questionnaire. Now, this is when you and your colleagues put all the candidates through the ringer on a host of issues, current events, ideological positions, and then you invite them all to share their ideas together and their stump speeches in a big, meetup. So, can you share with us a little bit about the process, how you all formulate the questions, and what your experience was like this cycle?
Yeah, sure. That we just wrapped that up. I think published our last recommendation today. Actually, I think it ran the recommendation on the two propositions on the ballot in Dallas. So just coming off of that season, and it's definitely a big undertaking. I mean, we spend a lot of time putting that together, interviewing candidates, talking to scores of them. This time, I think we recommended in 29 races. I think it was. And, I figure each of those races has 3 or 4 or 5, or in the case of that congressional race, 23 candidates. And so, typically that means we have them up to the conference room in our office and do that. This is the first time we did it 100% virtually. And that worked just fine. But, you mentioned the questionnaire, and we have a pretty robust questionnaire. We ask a lot of questions of them. I think the candidates kind of hate that sometimes because we ask them to invest some time, some significant time filling those things out. But we publish all of the responses to that on our website, so candidates get a chance to speak directly to the voters. We don't filter that at all through our lens, so it's a chance for them to fill that out and get their message out there to voters. But we use that as well as the interviews, as well as some other research that we do to kind of compile our recommendations for the election season. So, not sure if that walks you through all of the process, but it's just a process of breaking that up. We will not do. There's 6 of us on the board. The whole board doesn't meet with every candidate in every race. We'll break up into 2 or 3 of us will meet with every candidate in every race.
And you're talking about process, and we know some of your colleagues on the editorial board. We know some of the folks who were previously on the editorial board, and I think that section is heavily read by subscribers, by people who don't subscribe, who want to know what the editorial board says, but a lot of people don't understand what the process is and how that comes to pass. And so could you talk a little bit about the process the editorial board goes through, and also a little bit about, how you work as a member of the editorial board?
Yeah. So we, like I said, we'll gather as much information as we can from them and then about them from other sources. And then we sit down with them. And I think the thing that we're trying to do most often in those meetings is separate them. a lot of times they come in with very similar answers, or especially within parties, like if there's a primary race. And we're trying to differentiate what makes this candidate different, what gives this candidate an edge over other candidates. So we're sort of just trying to, cull them from the crowd, so to speak, and decide which one we think would be the best candidate. We're looking for things like experience and the ability to lead, the ability to build coalitions, and things like that. We're also kind of just weeding out the crazies, if I can say that, and just figuring out who's a serious contender. I will tell you that there's no shortage of. We're thinking internally we've been saying we need to create some kind of like book of crazy stories from these candidate interviews, because we've had all manner of.
Yeah, can we impose upon you to share one of your favorite memories? Let's call it. Maybe it's too soon. I don't know. Maybe we're too fresh.
Last year there was a guy who showed. So without sharing any names, last year a guy showed up. This was in person in the office. Sat down and then started pulling nectarines out of his pocket and offering them to everyone in the room, which was just fine. It was very friendly.
A different way to go about that.
Clearly, you are good at it, or they wouldn't have you up there doing it. So, and getting this stuff down on paper is important. The written word's very important to you, and you've done editorial, you've written books. What's next for you? What's the next challenge for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've been just really focused on the editorial pages and just helping out there as much as I can. Trying to, I'm 5 months into this thing, so I'm doing the team player thing as much as I can. I've got a buddy who doesn't work for the newspaper, who is a filmmaker, and he's kind of bugging me to help him with like a documentary film, which I think would be a fun project, kind of a side hustle, about a topic in Dallas, and I think that'd be really, really fun. But nothing solid right there yet. Like I said, I'm just sort of we run 13 editorials a week, and I'm focused on making those the best that we can make them right now.
Well, Ryan, I'm sure our listeners are going to want to stay in touch with you, maybe find out more about your work. How can folks get in touch with you? How can they keep up with you? Maybe even, I think you kind of told us already, but if they even want to get a hold of your book.
Yeah, if you just search Ryan Sanders on Amazon, you should be able to find both. The books are called Unbelievable, and then the other one's called Now and Then, the devotional is. You can also find me on Twitter. My handle is @TheRyanSanders, because I was trying to choose the most pretentious Twitter handle I could find, so I went with The Ryan. And then my website is theryansanders.com. So any of those places you can find me.
Pretentious or not, it's a good looking site. I like it. You look like you really got everybody engaged here on the homepage. So
yeah,
it's fun.
You can see the back of their heads in that shot, and not their complexions. Their faces. They're all asleep. So.
Checking their phones. Yeah. No, this is great. Well, Ryan, thank you for coming on, and look forward to staying in touch and talking to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Enjoyed it.
This is Deconstructing Dallas. Ryan Trimble, Shawn Williams. Stick with us. Welcome back, Deconstructing Dallas. Ryan Trimble, Shawn Williams. Shawn, a big thanks to Ryan Sanders for joining us. I appreciate his time. Love his insight on the process at the editorial board, and hearing about his work with Irving Bible Church, and got to track down one of those books.
We do. And again, I guess if they're going for such a premium now, we might have to find a way to pool our resources together for that. But
Yes,
I'm down. Definitely the devotional. That sounded like something that I could definitely get
I'm
behind.
in on that. I do have a birthday coming up, Shawn. So
you do. Maybe by then, I'll get to find a safe way to participate in your birthday suite of choice that's provided by Carol Ring.
Yes, I know you'll really be there for the treat provided by Carol. So hopefully we can make that happen.
To celebrate with you too, as well. But I mean,
well,
if there's sweets,
there are sweets. Speaking of making things happen, and also speaking of things that are sweet, man, have you seen Luka and his wild game-winning shots and all his highlights recently?
And that game-winning shot against Memphis was ridiculous. And by the way, do you have an opinion on the gold Mavericks jerseys, the white and gold?
Yeah, I don't hate them.
I don't hate them either. I got a hat that has the Dallas on it.
That's fun.
With that, yeah, I think I wanted to hate it, but I don't. I don't hate it.
I mean, there's so many jerseys in the NBA anymore. It's like I can't keep track. So
it's hard to tell. But
more?
Yeah, I agree. Luka, the reigning Western Conference Player of the Week. The Mavericks went 3-0 this past week. Luka averaged 26 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists. And on top of that, the shot he hit against the Lakers, falling out of bounds in the corner, which was a dagger to end that game, a game that they were losing for a large part of it. I mean, he continues to build on his amazing season, his amazing young career, and Luka Magic is in full effect.
He is a special rising star for sure. Speaking of rising stars, Shawn, we have one on our team that we have been threatening to introduce for several weeks now, and we are now threatening again, putting her on alert. Samantha Matthews, of course, our lustrous colleague at Allen Media, who has been doing yeoman's work, keeping us on track on Deconstructing Dallas, writing show notes, providing input, and so we are looking forward to introducing her to the world during our next episode.
I can't wait. I'm sure she will be too nice to say that the worst part of the gig is listening to us when we're not recording and having to listen to us try to sound like we possibly might know what we're talking about. And she has to go through that process, I think would probably be the worst part. But other than that, she does it with a straight face, though, which is nice.
If there were an NBA GIF I would send her, I would be clapping Kevin Durant, you the real MVP, Samantha.
There has to be one, right? There has to be one. So I cannot wait. I'm looking very much forward to it. And, again, you have said this to the listeners, and our listeners know how much we care, and we don't want to disappoint them. And so if we're saying that we're going to bring Samantha, then we've got to deliver on this one.
That's right. So stay tuned, everybody. Samantha Matthews, the big intro.
On that note, we are going to bow out of this episode. We really want to thank Ryan Sanders, Dallas Morning News editorial writer, for joining us. Check out his work at dallasnews.com. We want to thank our colleague Samantha Matthews for helping us with our show notes. Thank Michael Zavala of MZ Studios for the technical support. We want to thank our owners, Mary Woodley, Jennifer Pascal. Thank our colleagues at Allen Media. We want to thank our listeners. Thanks for continuing to help us come through this pandemic even stronger. Our show is getting better, but the only way we can really meet our objectives is to gain even more listeners. So please share this podcast with your friends, wherever you get your podcast, whatever your podcast platform may be. Please share this podcast and go and leave us 5-star rating on Apple Podcast or leave us a review on any of your podcasting platforms. follow us on social media. You can follow my co-host Ryan Trimble at rtrimble15, RTRIMBLE 15, or me